Hello YouTube. In this video I'm continuing the discussion on how to program for yourself. In the description will be part 1, and in that part I described the theoretical approach that you're going to have to starting to program for yourself, because it's going to take some thinking on your part. But today we're going to focus mainly on what needs to be done after that brainy portion, because now you're going to have to actually get it done. You're going to have to write the program and then jump on it, and all of that is going to take a certain application. And so I'm here to prevent certain mistakes that you might encounter and to streamline the process for you. So as I said last time, this is going to take place mostly for people who are done with our novice phase, who are intermediate to mid-intermediate. But that is going to only concern the portion where you actually jump on the training. And I want you to distinguish the two in your head. There is one where you're going to prepare the program and one where you jump on the program. And a year could exist between those two moments. Understand also that I'm not going to be talking about alpha and beta testing in this video. I decided to actually separate it in two segments. So this series is going to be a 3-parter because it's a type of format that I appreciate and I like better. It's easier for you to follow what is needed to be done. So today we're mainly focusing on writing the program. So what you're going to be doing as you are running your novice program, whatever it might be, you're going to accumulate a list of lifts. These are all of the lifts that you've practiced before. I explained that in part 1. Once you have selected that list, you have the backbone of the program, because everything else is going to articulate itself around it. You cannot program without a lifting list and without an exercise selection. It's not possible. Or if you do it, it's going to be a poorly crafted program. So once you have that essence, you're good to go. You can start programming. Understand that the only lifts in that list need to be lifts that you've practiced. So not just one time, you need to have done them for at least 3 months regularly. So no crazy novelty stuff that you've seen on a YouTube channel that you want to try, that's going to be for later. And 2, lifts that agree with you. I don't want to see lifts on there that hurt. I don't want to see lifts on there you don't have a good connection with. It needs to be your breadwinners, the ones that you've made gains on and that you know you're going to be able to do week in and week out. That is extremely important because you're going to be writing your first program. It needs to be a good experience. And I can tell you it won't be. You're going to make a gazillion mistakes. So make sure you don't make this one, because if the exercise selection is rotten, the entire program is going to stink. Once that is done, it's up to you to decide the template. It can be full body, it can be upper lower, it can be a push-pull leg, a gentleman split, a bro split. I of course advise against bro splits because it's a terrible format. I also advise against gentleman split because it tends to not be the best for novices. And for the same reason, I'm also going to advise against doing something like an upper lower, which I feel is a little bit more advanced. Keep in mind again that you're not going to jump on the program as a novice. But when you start as an early intermediate after your novice phase or as a late novice, you're still going to need something that is fairly easy. And so for that, full body and push-pull leg are going to be the best. And the reason why is those templates are extremely restrictive while being extremely open at the same time. Meaning that on a full body, you know that you're supposed to train the full body. On a push-pull leg, you know that on push, you're supposed to do pushes. So it constricts you, it is going to constrict you within a certain range, and that is going to be beneficial because programming is like a puzzle. And the pieces of the puzzle are the exercises. And the way you arrange them is going to be volume, intensity, and frequency. And the frame is going to be the template of the program. And so if you have a template that actually has numerals and numbers for each piece of the puzzle to fit in, it's much easier, right? So if you can imagine in the frame, if it's a full body frame, you're going to have an entire portion of the puzzle that says 1. And what is 1? Chest movements. Great. So you know that this goes here. It gives you indications. Same for push-pull leg. So I advise for these two. You don't have to, but that's personally what I recommend. Once that is done, you're going to organize everything. So you have your ingredients, now you're making the pie. You have the pieces, now you're making the puzzle. The puzzle is not going to be perfect, but it's going to be a puzzle regardless. And that's what counts, is that you're learning how to do it. The earlier you learn, the easier it is going to be for you in the future to program for yourself, the better your progression. People with the best natural physiques are people who program for themselves. If you keep jumping on random programs on the internet, you're never going to get there. You need to learn how to do it for yourself. And the explanation is actually quite simple. It really doesn't deserve a video, but the reason why you need to program for yourself is the best person, the person who's best suited to make a program that works for you is you. No coach on earth is going to be better at that. They might have more knowledge, but once you catch up on the knowledge, you're more suited because you have more empirical knowledge and just understanding of who you are and of control too. So that's what I advise, program for yourself. So when you organize the puzzle, I suggest you try and copy the previous program you ran, which is technically the program you're currently running, because understand again, in the timeline of things, you're still a novice, as I described those things. You're still running a novice program. So you're going to try and see what works on your novice program. Because as you enter the new program in the future, it's going to be much easier if your volume and intensity doesn't jump up the roof immediately. And it's the reason why many people struggle to transition from novice to intermediate is they end up doing way too much volume on their new intermediate program and they crash. Does it mean that it's the intermediate program fault? Most of the time, no. It's because the novice program doesn't evolve in terms of volume and therefore they just get shell-shocked at the sudden change in temperature, which is a different discussion altogether. But what you're going to be doing as you create that next program is you're going to try and match the tonnage as much as possible. That way you might start low on tonnage, but you'll get to ramp it up afterwards because you'll be the one programming. So you're going to organize your volume, intensity, and frequency that way. The frequency is already going to be pretty much set by your template. After that, because you're a novice, your programs are going to be relatively short, and therefore volume and intensity manipulation is not going to be complicated. You can copy the rep ranges that you used to do as a novice and then go from there. Understand that, as I just said, you're going to be minimalistic because novices get to be. It's when you progress that it becomes an issue. But as a novice, a healthy dose of reductionism, in a sense, is not a bad thing. And you can really make sure that this happens by not being too greedy with your exercise selection. I don't want to see a laundry list of exercises. One, because most likely, if you have that laundry list, most of those lifts you don't master or you've never practiced before. And two, it's not necessary. You don't need 15 variations or 15 accessories for, I don't know, hamstring curls as a novice. Pick your big compounds, and then you'll add variations as you go. I'll make videos about how to add variation to your program. But that's going to be very easy for you to settle in terms of volume, intensity, and exercise selection. It's not going to be the bulk of what it's going to have you think about it. So now, you have your program, you put the pieces of the puzzle, it looks like nothing, it looks terrible. And that's normal. A program you've never ran and beta tested is going to look terrible. It's good. Put that program aside. Okay, you've created the skeleton of what is going to be your next program, but you're still running your novice program diligently. And as you train in your practice, sometimes, not all the time, okay, don't be obsessed with it and don't be greedy, don't add stuff. Sometimes take out the program and think, okay, can I modify things? I just learned something new. Can I maybe make a twist here and there? That's great, because this program is not going to be usable yet. So as you keep going, you keep growing, this program should evolve with you, tiny bit. And eventually it reaches a stage where it's going to look okay. It's not going to be great by any means, but it's going to look like something that cannot be modified anymore. This is when you know the program is ready. You might not be ready. The moment where the program is finished might not be when you're done with your novice phase. But I like to believe it is, meaning that to me, you stop being a novice when you start wanting to jump on your own program and you start wanting to explore. I made a video about that if you're interested. And at that moment, it's up to you to jump on that program. Don't let people tell you that, oh, if you do that, you're a program hopper and you're going to lose all of your gains. The program you made is going to mimic the novice program with a difference in exercise selection and a slight variation in intensity and volume. So you're going to be just fine. Don't worry about that. And even if you lost some gains, who cares? You're a novice. You're going to be training for 10 years. The gains you lose are going to be adaptive skills for programming that are going to be more valuable in the long run. So that's perfectly fine. And this is, when you make that jump, the moment you enter what I call the alpha and the beta test. And that is going to be an entirely different discussion, because this is when you're going to fine-tune the program. This is when you're actually going to do it in the gym, and make the modifications that are eventually going to lead to your final program. And the notion of a final program might seem strange for some, but for bodybuilders, in my opinion, this is the pinnacle. It's the holy grail. It's a program that has been refined after years and years and years, where the exercises have all been tested, and you've created the perfect list of lifts that work with you, that make you progress and make you get bigger, in a setting and a volume and intensity manipulation scheme that is so flexible that it doesn't need to change. I think I've reached that. I think I'm at that point. And it took me close to 4 years to make that program. And so understand also that, and I'm going to leave you with that, everything I just described doesn't happen in 2 weeks. It's going to be a very long process. And even the process of writing your program might take 4 months as a novice, and then the alpha and beta test that I will explain in the latest installment of the series might take 2 years. Mine took 2 years. The writing of the program took 6 months. Previously, I had run 2 years of a program where I gathered information, and then after that, it was 2 years of beta test. And my program was finalized maybe 4 months ago. So it's going to be long, but don't worry about it. You'll still make gains as you program for yourself. And it's a process of learning that you will have to go through. If you're really passionate about bodybuilding, you can't be a dummy. You need to also work this. The muscles will stop growing if the capacity of the brains to make them push themselves to the limit stops evolving. So I'm going to leave you with that. Any questions, let me know in the comment. Refer to part 1 for the theory aspect, because this was the practical. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.